Okay, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Operations Committee. Martina, please call the roll to ensure that we have a quorum for the committee present.
Certainly, sir. Thank you. And we will call roll this morning by agency, member agency, starting with attendance for Bolinas.
Here.
Okay. Mill Valley,
Here.
City of San Rafael,
Present.
City of Larkspur, County of Marin,
Present.
Inverness,
Here.
Canfield, Marinwood, Muir Beach,
Present.
Novato,
Present.
Sleepy Hollow, Southern Marin Fire,
Present.
Stinson Beach, Town of Corte Madera, Town of Fairfax, Town of Ross,
Present.
and Town of San Anselmo. And I just wanted to go ahead and recall for Stinson Beach Fire.
Jesse Perry, present.
President, thank you, Chief. We do have a quorum, sir, and we can proceed with the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do committee members or staff have any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Operations Committee at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the committee. Please be advised that pursuant to the Government Code Section 54954.2, the committee is not permitted to discuss or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your cell phone during the meeting and mute your microphone when not speaking. Martina, do we have anyone that wishes to deliver a comment online?
We do not have any comments at this time, sir.
Okay. So we'll close public comment and we will move to Planning and Program Manager's report, receiving an oral report from Marin Wildfire Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock.
Great, thank you. I will go ahead and share my screen here. This is a very text-rich, photo-poor slide, so apologies in advance. So we have been quite busy. Just want to give you guys some an update in terms of what we've been up to for the last month or so. We've been Marin Wildfire staff has been continuing to support projects in the field, and sometimes that is just crew management out in the field, like in Muir Beach, along Highway 1 on NPS property. We've been working with Muir Beach folks and NPS to manage that vegetation management project along Highway 1. The Muir Beach Trail last year, Terwilliger is still ongoing. Some hazard trees that were even more hazardous than we realized. They were leaning over the roadway and dead. And so we've been working on that. In West Marin, continued support for Inverness and Sea Haven. And as I reported last month, we held a field trip out there. We've also had regulatory agencies out there to just come and check out our work, and that went great. In Central Marin, we've been supporting the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break, and we'll probably do a little broom pulling this winter. And then in addition, we've been doing a lot of work to plan ahead the right to enter and the surveys and coordinating with Marin County Parks and Open Space on future work for this coming season. Additional project planning support, a lot of coordination of surveys, bird surveys, other resources surveys, data collection, so supporting member agencies on the GIS and the data collection for project implementation. And we're working with our GIS consultant to put together a training package for member agency staff who'd like to know more about GIS, how to use our system and collect data and use all the different layers available to them to track work going on, right to enter agreements, natural resources in your project area, et cetera. So we're rolling out that tool and training for staff. So if you have staff who'd like to learn more about GIS, please send them in my direction. A lot of coordination every year with land management agencies such as Marin County Parks on all the right to enter process to get in there. And we're also talking about long-term maintenance and what those kind of long-term agreements or MOUs or whatever that mechanism will be going forward. Continued coordination with the Coastal Commission and tribal representatives on various efforts in the Coastal Commission, in the coastal area, and the Public Works Plan. We've also been exploring data collection around grazing. So grazing, especially in the Central Marin, in Novato, and San Rafael, thinking through how to monitor that for both fire and ecological considerations. We also hosted the state or the San Francisco Bay Area Water Board and California Department of Fish and Wildlife at some of our project sites in the coast. They come out periodically to check on our work in various locations, and this time around it was Stinson Beach and Bolinas. So big thank you to Chief Krakauer and Chief Perry for your help in hosting them. It went really well. They're very happy with our work. We're continuing to plan for the next chipper season, and a tentative schedule will be going out to your agencies probably today from staff. We're working on the CWPP update, and we'll hear more about that at the February meeting of the Operations Committee. We're coordinating with our grant staff on additional grants to residents and how to improve that program moving forward. Every year we tweak it a little bit to make it more efficient and make sure we're hitting the residents and the action items that are the most important. So you'll hear more about that again in the March meeting. The inspection program, we're in the middle of planning for next season, and I believe the returning inspectors are coming at the end of March, and they're going to be about 30 positions for next season. So that's ongoing. And then the Zone Zero in a Box is continuing to build, and Mark and Kathleen and Joe have been working hard on that. And then we still are working on some public field trips with some of your staff, Novato, San Rafael, and Southern Marin. So stay tuned. We're looking for dates and working with your staff on that kind of planning effort. So a lot going on, but I'll leave it there and happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you, Ann. I'll move it back to the committee for any questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll now take public comment in the item.
And there are no hands for a comment at this time, sir.
Okay, seeing no more comments, then we'll bring it back to the committee for a discussion. Is there any discussion to move forward with? And seeing none, thank you, Ann. We'll move to consent calendar. The opportunity for public comment on consent calendar items will occur prior to the committee's discussion of the consent calendar. The committee may approve the entire consent calendar with one action. In the alternative, items on the consent calendar may be removed by any committee or staff member for separate discussion and vote. And we'll take public comment on the consent calendar.
And there are no hands at this time.
Okay. Do any committee members wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none. We only have one item on consent, which is the minutes of the January 22, 2026 Operations Committee meeting. And if nobody wants to pull the item, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, we
Oh,
actually.
I'm sorry. You have to do the roll call. Sorry. Go ahead.
Correct. And that was a motion from San Rafael with a second from Novato. Was that Novato? Okay, great. And I did just want to note for the minutes that we have Rich Simonich here for the town of Ross. I will go ahead and call the roll according to name just so that we have it correct for the minutes for those who are attending today. So for Bolinas, do we have Chief George Krakauer?
Yes.
For Mill Valley, Todd Cusimano.
Yes.
For San Rafael, Chief Abe Roman.
Yes.
For City of Larkspur, we do not have anyone in attendance. For the County of Marin, Chief Marcucci.
Yes.
For Inverness, David Briggs.
Yes.
Let's see. For Mirror Beach, Chief Gove.
Yes.
For Novato, Chief Peters.
Yes.
For Southern Marin, Chief Tubbs.
Abstain.
For Stinson Beach, Chief Perry.
Yes.
For the town of Ross, Rich Simonich.
Abstain.
Abstain. And then do we have a representative for the town of San Anselmo? Okay, so it looks like the motion does pass with majority vote with 2 abstentions, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next item will be discussion items, work plan development update and schedule, and we'll go back to planning and program manager Ann Krelock for staff report.
Great, thank you. So for those out there online, each year, Marin Wildfire and its member agencies coordinate with each other to figure out how to spend next fiscal year's budget. And we anticipate how much revenue will be coming in and how to divvy that up among different projects and programs. And so we are in that process right now of developing proposals for the next work plan. We have a lot of great science and data and tools available to us, and those are being used to help develop the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, the CWPP, as well as our work here with the work plan. So we're really excited to incorporate science into the work that we do. One change this year, which was not reflected in my January slides, but I'd like to highlight it here, is that the board really wanted additional time to provide input and kind of digest the draft work plan. So rather than just presenting in May at the May board meeting, we've been asked to also present some of the content in April. It's a lot. So we're going to focus on the JPA-wide proposals very likely at the April board meeting and help share kind of that part of the puzzle so that the board has some time to kind of digest that and provide some input. So that's a change for this year, and typically the ops committee helps with that, but we'll be letting you know more about that and what that might look like. So in terms of kind of tasks for the operations committee, choosing a chair and vice chair, which is agendized today, revisiting our strategic guidance, which we'll also tackle today. And then offline, we can start creating ad hoc subcommittees to dive into JPA-wide proposals and zone-specific proposals so we can really make sure to dive into the details and make sure that those proposals reflect the operations committee's input and guidance. So this highlighted date is where we are now. This is the same slide that folks see both at the ATC and Operations Committee each month. It's just kind of a flow, a workflow. We are at the stage where we're tallying up JPA-wide proposals. So those are generally proposals that come out of the core budget, and they are meant to benefit more than one zone generally. So we're talking about public info, we're talking about the GIS program, staff like the vegetation management specialists who help support projects out in the field, things like that. And we will dive into those in much more detail at the Operations Committee meeting in March. But we have kind of a tentative list that I'll show in one of the slides of where we are on that. March, we'll be diving much more into the zone-specific proposals in terms of what gets inputted into the online portal. Be working with staff. We'll be talking about them with staff and through subcommittee meetings, April as well. And then I've added that date, April 16th, for the board meeting to talk about JPA-wide proposals. Ops Committee meets again in May, on May 7th, and then the board meets May 21st to consider approval of work plan and budget. So this is a tentative list of JPA-wide proposals that I'm aware of currently. So that includes a lot of things that you've seen previously. So operational costs for the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, costs associated with ongoing environmental compliance, a couple of veg management specialists that have been, as I mentioned, supporting projects out in the field, Genesis and Ladris, Fireside Subscription, our GIS program, the Residential Grant Program, Chipper Day Program, Public Education, and a few additional items to support that. Ember Stomp, CWPP annual updates will be a new one this year. So each year, the idea with this dynamic CWPP is that we can update it as data becomes available. A possible item is the urban conflagration modeling that we could add to the mix if we choose to. And then support for coastal projects, same kind of support as last year is also on the table. You might recall that last year we chose to take 200,000 from JPA-wide core budget and then supplement that with 300,000 worth of reserve funds. So that's a tentative list. Dollar numbers are not set. We spent a lot of time discussing that at the ATC at the last meeting, and there are many more discussions around that to be had. We'll discuss them again in March. And then we can discuss it also at this committee meeting in March. So I did a little math here, and let's say the JPA wide is the same budget as last year. This is hypothetical. This is not the number currently. This is just for the sake of exploring the budget. So we're looking at, and I'm sorry, we can't see that top number very well. I don't think it affects anything if I change my. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So assuming a 2% CPI, and we won't know that until mid-March, that puts the total projected revenue for next fiscal year at $23,437,461. And then you just do the math down the line. So 60% of that is the core at 14 million. 10% of that core is 1.4 million. If you subtract admin from the core, that gives you 12.6 million. And then if you say your JPA wide is around 5.78 million, then you subtract that out and you get that remaining core budget, and you divvy it up among the zones for core projects, and then 20% of the core goes to DSpace and to local. So this is kind of an exercise to see what it would look like, given that we don't know the JPA wide budget yet. So further going down the line, again, those core numbers are hypothetical. They will not stay the same. This is how the numbers line up for each of the jurisdictions. And we can take these slides and attach them to the agenda so that you all have them. So that is the end of my report. Happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you, Ann. We'll move it back to any questions from the committee.
What do you need? Yeah, thank you. Mark pointed out that I'll just specify that the local and DSpace numbers would not change, even with adjustments for JPA-wide core projects. So those are the final numbers. Thank you. And that is also assuming a 2% CPI, which we don't know yet.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll now take public comment on this item.
And sir, I see no hands at this time.
Okay.
Has a hand raised.
My apologies. I do see a very important hand at this time. We have Barbara Kohler in the online attendees group. Let's see. And you should be able to deliver your comment.
Hi there. Good morning. This is Barbara Kohler. As you know, I'm on the board, but I'm also speaking as an individual. And I was hoping to get a few thoughts in before you fully bake the work plan. You know that in a couple of years, we'll be going into reauthorization, and something that I've found is that a lot of our folks, even though our work is incredible, you guys have done a great job, they more relate to the things that affect them personally. And so I would like to suggest a couple of things for your consideration in the future, and that would be that we look at putting more money into the residential grant program. These are the things that really resonate, as you know, the Chipper Days does. And I know that we have done things which make a lot of sense, which are looking at income qualified and seniors, and I still completely support that. But I'd like for you all to consider a couple of things, which was putting more money in and not limiting it to income qualified and seniors, but obviously putting more money into those. I'd like to see if we could consider 3 grant programs. Zone Zero, which we know is going to be a really hard lift, heavy lift. There's a lot of folks that think it's overreach, silly. I've heard those words. Defensible space, so not just limiting to Zone Zero, and home hardening. So I'm hoping that we could allocate more money than we have. People will remember this. And I also want to let you know that I have met with my ATC and ops folks in advance with things that we're looking at for, our area, but also for the JPA wide work. So thank you so much for listening, and great work, all of you. Really appreciate your service to our agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. That was our timer. Thank you, Director Kohler, Barbara Kohler, as a member of the public for your comments. Sir, I do not see any additional comments at this time.
Okay. And I love the walk-off music. Seeing no more comments, let's bring this back to the committee for any discussion. Seeing none, no motion is required on that. So thank you, Ann, for the report. We'll move on to the next action item, which is the chair and vice chair election. Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock will again provide a staff report for this item.
Sure. I'll be very brief. So each season we choose a vice chair and chair to help manage this process. Duties include working with me on the agenda, making sure what you'd like to see on the agenda is included, and helping create and manage ad hoc subcommittees so we can really dive into the proposals, and then also helping communicate with the board what we're proposing for next fiscal year. And it may include, or it could include somebody else, participation with ATC meetings. It'd be great to have someone from Operations Committee also participating in some of those conversations. It doesn't have to be the chair or vice chair, but that's one role that it could include. And with that, I'll just kick it off.
Okay.
Any interest?
Thank you, Ann. We'll take some questions if there are any from the committee about this item. Seeing no hands, we can take public comment.
There are no hands, sir.
Okay. We can bring it back to the committee for discussion and a motion.
Question.
Go ahead.
Are you asking for a motion on the nominations, or?
I think at this point we don't have any nominations, so we should probably start the nomination process.
Yes. Would anyone like to nominate a chair or vice chair?
I would. I'd like to nominate Chief Dan Mahoney for chair.
We have a nomination for Chief Dan Mahoney, Ross Valley Fire, from Chris Tubbs of Southern Marin. Do we need a second for that? Anyone want to second that? Chief Peters is seconding Dan Mahoney for president. Any other nominations for president? Hearing silence amongst the crowd, we will then move. We can make, do we need to do the vice president next then make the whole thing one motion? Okay. So we'll then open up for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Todd Cusimano as vice chair.
Happily second that.
So we have a nomination for Todd Cusimano from Chief Peters and a second from Chief Tubbs. Any other nominations for vice chair? And hearing silence, we can then move to making a motion. Can I get a motion to elect Dan Mahoney as the chair and Todd Cusimano as the vice chair of the MWPA Operations Committee?
So moved.
I'll second that. So we have a motion from Chief Peters and a second from Chief Roman. We initiate the roll call for the vote.
Certainly. Todd, did you have a comment? It looks like you came off mute for just a moment.
No, I'm good. I was just laughing.
No problem, sir. So we will now go ahead by agency, Bolinas,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
San Rafael,
Yes.
County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Yes.
Muir Beach,
Yes.
Novato,
Yes.
Southern Marin,
Yes.
Stinson Beach,
Yes.
and Town of Ross.
Yes.
And that looks like a unanimous vote for the elections of vice chair and chair of the operations committee, sir.
Okay, congratulations to Chief Mahoney and Todd Cusmano on a hard-fought victory. And I'm assuming that will take place at the next meeting in March. Okay.
Yes, you're still on the hook today.
I'm still on. I got it.
Yeah.
I'll read it through. Okay. Next action item is our strategic guidance for development of the 26-27 work plan. And yet again, we'll go back to planning and program manager Ann Krelock for a staff report.
Great, thank you. And I do want to thank you, Chief Marcucci, for jumping in and chairing this committee. We've really appreciated it. And Todd Cusimano will be ready for your speech after my presentation here.
Thank you.
Okay, these are slides that you have seen before, so I'm not going to go into great detail. The recommendation before you today is to continue the current strategic guidance for work plan development with the items that we have discussed previously. With the exception of the last item, which kind of expired. So that was including input to the state regarding Zone 0 and LRA hazard maps, because that process has been ongoing and is closing out. So the recommendation before you is to to continue with strategic guidance items 1 through 7 for this fiscal year. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee for Ann?
Just if we approve this today, are we able to add anything to, or is it truly just a discussion today?
Today would be an action item to take a vote on it. We also discussed it last month, and it would be great to hand these over to the ATC so they can use these to help guide the discussion at that level. But if you have items that you feel are missing, that's something we could discuss today and potentially add or edit what's on these slides.
Yeah, and I'd like to get some support from my fellow operations members, specifically around ignition reduction through enforcement, specifically around human-caused fires. We saw an uptick in San Rafael. We had about 32 starts last year. So I wanted to include that in there as a separate item. I know it's written on the line number 7 towards the last part of it on public education. But in this specific case, I'd like to get support, garner support on ignition reduction through enforcement.
I guess the question I would have is reducing human cause ignitions or failure to, does it go as far as failure to change, like on the recommendations that the inspectors make, or are you talking about just arson, like human cause fires?
I think it's a mixture of both of them, because I don't think we address the ignition reduction on any of this stuff as a specific thing that we call out. Things like working with PG&E during their PSPS events, those things like that. I think that's an important aspect of it. As we all know, if we could do all the fuel reduction and all that stuff, but if we really enhance it by doing ignition reduction through some of the work that we do, there's a far better chance of not starting the fire in the first place.
I think the county can get behind enforcing human cause ignitions for cost recovery and even public resource code violations. I don't know that the county can get behind enforcing. Right now we're in an educational mode, like off the D-space inspections. I don't know that the county, I do know that the county does not have an appetite at this point to move more than an educational stance, if you will, to enforcement. I think we're going to get to enforcement. I just don't think we're there yet. There's a few struggles with the amount of, just to go down that rabbit hole for a second. There is some concern that there's a lack of the inspectees opening their reports, doing the work and those things. And I think we're still in that educational stance. I don't know that we're at a point to start enforcing that, but I do believe that we could get behind enforcing, if PG&E starts a fire, that's obviously a violation of the Public Resources Code. We can get behind that. We're already doing that, especially in the SRA with our CAL FIRE partners. So I could support that piece, but I don't know that I could get behind, the county would get behind the enforcement on not correcting the issues on the property. If that
Correct.
helps.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Through fines or any number of things that we're just not there yet. Yeah.
Any other thoughts from the committee members, either online or in the room?
I would just echo that same philosophy. We're clearly still in an education mode, and I'm not sure we would have the appetite to enforce fines as well.
Yeah, and I'm talking more the enforcement of actually having reduction of ignition sources, not necessarily the enforcement of properties or that process. Because I think all of us have our internal process, how that's going to go, and our internal political sensitivity on how we manage that process there. So I'm not encouraging that. I'm just encouraging that we highlight the point of that we not enforce, but reduce ignition sources or ignition, human caused fires or any number of things like that.
Of the 32 fires last year, what were the causes? Like, what was your main?
It was open flame ignition on either behavioral, mental health issues, any number of things like that. None of them were related to an accidental. It was those type of things. So really get in front of this. Some of the fires that we saw in San Rafael Hill were directly related to that type of behavior. So what I mean by enforcement is enforcement those type of atmosphere or environments.
And can you put that back up again? The document number 7.
While you're doing that, Mike, a question for Abe. Trying to kind of understand the objective. I mean, I get the fundamental piece of reducing ignition. I think we all get behind that. Trying to understand sort of the mechanics of it. If we make it a strategic guidance element of the work plan, Abe, how do you see that sort of being carried out from let's say, a planning and budgetary process? Is it more down at a local level, or are you seeing that as JPA wide, or how are you sort of envisioning that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. And it is specifically at a local level. For us specifically, it's our Ranger program that really focuses heavily on that. And we see a dramatic decrease in starts when the Ranger program is fully active on there. They're the ones that are out there constantly observing the behavior, observing open flame ignition, and the sources of that open flame ignition. And a lot of times they're able to quickly grab that, and then we don't have a start.
Would it be fair then to say if we were looking at adding this as a strategic item, that some wording around ignition reduction, but pointing to, based on sort of local conditions, that way agencies can sort of navigate that based on the issues in their community. I think each of the areas has sort of some unique circumstances. Does that sort of get close to what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
I echo that sentiment. We are absolutely will support the fire rangers enforcement in that regard. I think they're currently doing it in certain areas in Nevada, and we're 100% in support of the fire ranger. And maybe we add that into it as it's the fire ranger program.
Staff, any comments or recommendations on how we could word this?
I'm appreciating the well-engaged conversation, and I fully support you guys taking this, making it your baby, and whatever you guys come up with, we'll support it.
So I guess then to move this forward, to bring it back to the committee, then are you looking to change the verbiage of number 7 or add another, just to be able to give staff the guidance to potentially change the guidance of the work plan? What would be the request?
I think the way I have it here is reduction of ignition potentials through enforcement, fuel reduction, and education at a local level.
So we would
now some of it is like we were already. I'm trying to figure it out here as we're going along. If we're already addressing some of those of the fuel reduction and education in those other aspects of it, then it would be reduction of ignition potentials through enforcement at a local level. Or,
Through the Fire Ranger program?
yeah,
I would hesitate with the fire ranger program since it's not in the, since it's not in all of the zones, I would keep it more generic so that it could be applicable to all 5 zones.
yeah.
Because that was going to be my question. The only ones using the Fire Ranger program is Novato and Santa Fe, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But
that's what I thought.
also, like, I also don't want to, like, it's not our program either. It's the community's program. So if somebody wanted to expand, like, I mean, you're fire inspectors, and I mean, eventually, if you had some kind of rangers out there also, or the sheriff department had that, would want to support that program also, especially on the open space areas. So that's where I want to keep it open so that it allows for that to be one of the work plan items as we develop the work plan.
Would it be sorry. Would it be appropriate to genericize it to law enforcement rather than specific fire ranger program?
I do have a little bit of reservation from that, and it's specifically because I'm not sure. It depends highly on whether law enforcement's able to hire for those positions. In theory, we could create a fire ranger program where it's not law enforcement based. It's more of a fire department based type of program where we're doing law enforcement or enforcement on it through the fire district or county fire department. So much like if I reference Contra Costa County Fire, where they actually have a law enforcement section within the department, that's a little bit different than what I am. I once again, I don't want to limit it. I want to keep it kind of general, but just general support for those programs that we call it out on it, but not being totally specific where it totally becomes a situation where we can't do it under these specific things.
And I think to Mark's point in the strategic, and it is a guidance for the work plan, really to go to the ATC is what this is, where this ends up with, correct? So I think if we take Chief Ramon's verbiage for the local level, then that can be determined what that looks like at the local level. So I think we're all saying the same thing here.
I think we're trying to limit the limitation, if I can. Yeah. So I agree, Mike. If we could make the language very broad in that it accomplishes what Novato and San Rafael want to accomplish, but if there are other strategies at the local level that also accomplish that strategic guidance, we wouldn't want to close that door. And I think that's what Abe is saying as well.
Yep.
Okay. So, Anne, what do you need to make this change?
So here's some generic language that incorporates much of what you just said. Reduction of ignition potentials through local projects and programs.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
Okay. Should that be part of number 7 or
I'd like to
number
call it
8?
out as number 8 as a specific.
How does the group feel about that?
I could support it.
Support.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the number 8. That's fine. Support.
Okay.
Support.
There's a bunch more online, but I think if we so
Yeah.
so can we change that and make a motion to do that now, or do you need? Okay, so
Yes. We can add number 8 and vote to support the modified strategic guidance, and then I can circulate that language to double check with all of you that you're okay with it.
okay,
Right.
that works. So just following the flow of the meeting here. So we've had that piece. Is there any other questions from the committee regarding the strategic guidance for 26-27? Not hearing or seeing any. I'll now take public comment on this item.
Certainly, sir. We do have a hand raised for public comment from Bill Tyler. Sir, once you begin speaking, your timer will start.
Hi, good morning, Ops Committee. I think some of the language that you could use that would be generic without specifically naming a existing program is with regards to the ignitions, including but not limited to enforcement. That way, agencies can create whatever kind of program they want and also include enforcement without making it specifically enforcement.
I like that. Okay.
Okay, sir. And you do still have about a minute and a half left on your speaking time. Would you like to conclude your comment at this time?
No, I'm good. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and sir, I don't see any additional hands for comment.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to the committee for discussion. So do we want to use Chief Tyler's verbiage that he suggested? Is that, or do we want to,
I'd
what does
like
that look
to,
like?
and is that something that we can fit in there that's appropriate?
She's literally typing right now so we can put it up on the screen so everyone can
Perfect.
see it.
We'll drag our feet on this
And
one for a
there
second.
won't-
So,
that way we won't have any question mark.
perfect.
And sir, the committee's discussion will be reflected in the minutes as well as in the online video. Very healthy discussion.
Great. Okay. Well, we can bring that walk-up music back if we need to for a second. Or,
Yeah.
that'd be good. Yeah.
All right, so here's a draft. Please note that there are missing commas and punctuation here, but reduction of ignition potentials through local projects and programs, including but not limited to enforcement.
Perfect for me.
Okay.
Okay. So any other discussion? And if not from the committee, can I get a motion for the strategic guidance for the 26-27 work plan development?
A motion?
A motion from Chief Roman. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Chief Tubbs. Can we do a roll call for the vote?
Certainly, sir, starting with Bolinas,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
City of San Rafael,
Yes.
County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Yes.
Muir Beach,
Aye.
Novato,
Yes.
Southern Marin,
Yes.
Stinson Beach,
Yes.
Town of Ross.
Yes.
And that is a unanimous vote, sir.
Okay,
Motion
thank you.
passes.
And I think it was a good discussion. I think that shows how the process works. So thank you, everybody. Moving on to committee reports, Advisory Technical Committee. Do we have any representatives from ATC?
Well, I'll start us off, and we do have, so the chair of the ATC is Todd Lando, and the vice chair is Quinn Gardner. And I do see her in the audience. Quinn, you're welcome to jump in as a panelist and speak if you'd like to provide an update on the ATC. Otherwise, I'm happy to do it. Let me know.
It looks like she's joining us.
Welcome, Quinn.
Hi, everybody. Brief report on the ATC discussion, Anne, am I correct?
Yes, just
Probably.
a few of the topics that we covered and any thoughts you'd like to share with ops.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the biggest conversation and presentation was around the grant program. We had a lot of meaningful discussion there. One of the challenges that was discussed was resident confusion, in particular for other jurisdictions that are managing programs like San Rafael and Novato. And so there was a proposal around how to simplify that process for residents with potentially putting some of that money back into those agencies, kind of direct coffers. So residents only had one grant contact per se and one process. And then we also talked about some of the challenges associated with like larger communities and HOAs trying to use the grant program. And the ATC's recommendation on that was to keep that at the local agency level, just because that process is really nuanced. And so the individual parcels, to just let the local agencies decide the best ways to support some of those longer groups. So I think that was the real decision point we had, as well as some other discussions around CWPP and other upcoming topics.
Thank you, Quinn. Appreciate you joining today. So at the ATC, we started off with kind of a round robin. Everybody gave a quick update of what their agencies are up to, and then we dove into JPA-wide proposals and we decided to feature the grant program and really have a discussion about that in particular. And then next month in March, we'll discuss the other JPA-wide programs and really dive into the CWPP and that component and the public education component. So that's where we'll focus our time then. And that's it. Thank you, Quinn. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I'll move it back to the committee for any questions for the ATC. Seeing none, we'll move to public comment.
And I see no hands, sir.
Okay, coming back, there's no motion or action item, but is there any discussion from the committee for ATC items or anything on their operations? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, committee members' request regarding future agenda items. Do any committee members have requests for future agenda items for the next meeting? I'm not seeing or hearing any. We will move to adjournment of the meeting, and I'll now adjourn the meeting. And I believe the next one is scheduled for March 12th, 2026, with our new president, or excuse me, new chair and vice chair. So meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.